Alright, we're going to get into this. Next portion of the bike is just a little bit more difficult. Actually, it's a lot more difficult. So it's really important that you follow along with these steps. And conceptually, what we're doing here is creating a shape that it's all kinds of complicated. So to show you kind of what our goal is we're going to focus on this rear triangle area is what it's called. And what we have are these lines that are curving down, and they're also tapered. So these two lines don't run parallel. They kind of taper towards each other, and so it gets smaller at the bottom. So just sweeping a circle to form this tube is not going to work. That's what we used to make this tube here, but this tube doesn't taper at all. It stays the same, size the whole way across. So not only does it taper, but this tube has to jut out from the center post here, out and around the tire and around the hub and all this stuff here, these gears and such, brakes. So it's actually going to be curving around in space, this up or out and away from the wheel, while it's curving downward this way. So that's why it's a little bit more complicated. So I want to explain that before we get started. So as we're pursuing our goal, you understand what we're trying to accomplish here. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is just isolate the layers that we're going to need for this lesson, and then everything else will disappear. So all we need are basically these red lines and the center line. So I'm going to go into my actually you'll have to expand your layers, but click on the isolate button. Just select these two lines here, press enter. Everything else is going to disappear. Alright, and the next thing we want to do is we're just going to create a layer that we're going to be drawing on. So go to the layer properties, and so far we've been organizing our project with 3D layers that represent the drawing that we make. One of these I did not use. So you should have a 3D frame and a 3D head caps. And now we're going to make another layer. I'm actually going to select the 3D frame layer and click new. What that will do is copy over the color, because I want it to be the same color. But I'm going to name this one 3D rear triangle. I'm just making it all one word. Rear triangle. And then I'm gonna double click this one to make it current. Just double click to the left of the name. Whoops, that's the wrong one. Cancel that. Where did it go? Whoops. Because I have this isolated, I'm gonna have to go in and turn this one on. Rear triangle. There we go. Alright, here we go. So we got this, and it should be on. It is on. Okay. Alright, I'm going to close that. And we're going to get this line here and move it to the new layer that we just created. 3D rear triangle. So this is going to be our first line that we're going to be drawing on here. And what I want to do is divide this into about 6 different segments. So to divide a line, there's a button for this. There's a button for everything. But it can be hard to remember where it's at. But it's in the draw group. Click on the arrow, down arrow, and then it's actually this button here. It's just called multiple points, but we want to divide a line into multiple points. So that's where you find it, is this divide button here. I'm going to scroll over it to expand to show you what it's supposed to do. It creates evenly spaced points on an object. It divides it, so that's why you can just easily type in divide, it will show up. And it creates these what's called nodes, the little circle things that appear on the line, and those can become snap points that we'll use later. So we're going to divide our line segment into 6 equal distances. So if you don't remember where the button is, you can just type in divide. So I'm just going to type in divide. Even after you just type in div for divide, and it shows up in the list, so you just press enter. Then it says select object to divide. We're going to select our line here, and then it says enter the number of segments. We're going to put in 6. Enter. And then it has divided our line into 6 different segments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What we're going to do now is we're going to draw some lines from this center line outward. So we're going to grab the line tool. We're going to snap to this. If it doesn't snap to it, then we're going to turn on the snaps. There's a midpoint. We don't want to grab that one. We want to be able to grab the nodes. So in your snap options, we're going to click the down arrow to expand the menu. And these are all the things that should be on. We have endpoint, midpoint, center, quadrant, intersection, extension. That one's kind of iffy, but we'll leave it on for now. Perpendicular. Actually, yeah, do leave extension on. Perpendicular, and now we're adding to that list node. So I'm just going to click to check that on. Now, as I'm drawing my line, again, I should be able to snap to that node. So I'm going to click and then drag a line out, and I want to specify perpendicular. So you want to make sure the perpendicular snap is the one that you snap to. If you want to isolate to that, you can shift, right click, and then select from the list perpendicular. So when you hover over the line, that is the only snap that appears there. I'm going to go to the top view so that hopefully everyone has the same, or at least a similar view of this. Alright, now I'm going to continue to draw lines out perpendicular. A shortcut to get back into the previous command that you were in is to press the space bar. So I am going to finish my line by pressing escape, and then get back into the previous command, which is the line tool, by pressing the space bar. Grab a hold of that node, find the perpendicular snap.
Alright, you'll have to pay attention for this last. Actually, this last one we can do. It's not a problem. So the line here. This one, you're going to snap to the end point, and again find perpendicular.
Alright, now we're going to complete the line all the way across. So to do that, we're going to extend these lines out to this barrier. So I'm going to click on where we'd normally click the button for trim, and then choose extend. And with extend, you want to define your barrier. So I want to extend out to this barrier, press enter. Then I'm going to hover over these. Then you can see the line kind of extends out, and then you just simply click. You can do that for the second line there, and then this line here. Alright, we're done extending lines. This one down here doesn't have a barrier to extend to that would be correct. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to extend this line out on purpose too far. So click on extend again. Right here. Here we go. Extend out to this barrier. Enter. This line here. So obviously it's extended way too far out. But now I'm going to extend this line out to this barrier. So extend, select this line as a barrier, enter, hover over this line, and now we have an intersect point, and we can trim this off. So I'm going to trim now. Actually, let me just escape to make sure I'm not still in a command. Trim, and I want to select this as my cutting line, enter, and then trim this portion of the line off. So now we have a line joining this side with this side over here. And we need this one at the end. I'm going to extend these lines out here to meet the center line. So click on extend. This is the barrier that I want to extend the lines to. Enter. Then I'm going to hover over these two lines here. Extend those all the way out. And I'm going to use these two intersections as my snapping points for my line. So I think at this point I'm just going to leave those there. We're not going to draw a line. Actually, let's do. Alright, so let's draw a line out. From here, out perpendicular. And then I have to extend this line out again. So let's try, this is a different technique to get the same result. It's a little more complicated, so I didn't do it for the previous one. But we're going to do what's called a fillet, or a fillet. I like to call it a fillet. So we're going to fillet this, which filleting it is just adding a rounded corner between two lines. And the radius is set by a numeric value. So if the number is 0, there's actually no curve to the line connecting the two sides, then you'd actually just be making a 90-degree angle. So this will all make sense in just a moment. This is the fillet tool. It says it rounds and fillets the edges of an object. So it takes two straight lines and makes a curve in between them. So the first thing you want to do, we click on fillet, is determine the radius. We want a radius of 0, which it may already be set to 0. Enter. And then choose your two lines that you want to fillet. So I'm going to choose this line here and hover over this one. And you can already see that that line is going to be created. So it's an easy way to get the result that we wanted. Alright, now we're ready to create some circles. And to do this, actually I forgot to extend this line out. Do that real quick. There we go. We're going to draw circles, and the circles need to be in line with the direction that we want this tube to be. So we can't just draw a circle here, it's just going to be facing the wrong direction. So we're going to be aligning our UCS to actually each of these line segments. So it's going to be a multiple step process. Once you get it down for one of these, you'll get the hang of it. So you're going to go to the UCS tool first, which is right here. And we're going to snap to an object. So I'm going to choose object from the menu. And I'm going to choose this line first just because it's nice and visible. I'm going to snap to this object. So now my grid is aligned with this line here. And the X is lined up fine. I don't want to move that. But the Z is in the wrong direction. I want the Z to be aligned with this one of these curved lines here. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to rotate. And if X is in the right spot, I need to rotate Z around the X axis. So basically, I want Z to be where Y is right now. So I'm going to choose the rotate tool, make sure it's set to X, and I need to, it can be either 270 degrees or 90 degrees. I'm just going to click enter for the default 90 degrees. And the Z is facing this way, which is fine. If your Z is facing this way or this way, it doesn't matter. So now we're ready to draw our first circle. I'm going to grab the circle tool and we're going to go the 2-point circle. I have 2 points on my line segment here and over here. Let me just orbit to see what we just accomplished. Alright, and I'll hide my UCS temporarily here. Alright, so you want to make sure that your circle is facing the right way, that you drew it correctly. So that is one circle that we've done. And we're going to create circles at each of these line segments using the same technique. So first step is UCS tool, choose object from the menu, click to align it to that one of the line segments, and that is aligning X to that. So I'm going to be rotating on X, enter. I'm just going to show my UCS just to make sure that it's in the right spot. So I'm going to click up here, show UCS at origin. The Z is lined up with that red line, that's good. So now I'm ready to draw another circle. From this point out to this point. Same thing. Continuing to draw circles. So if you want to do that while I'm doing these, you can. It's important that you don't forget a step. So you're clicking UCS, aligning it to an object, and then rotating it on X 90 degrees. Those are the steps. Now we're going to draw our circle again. Okay, I'm almost done with my last line here. There we go. So we got circles all aligned along the curve. I'm going to go back to the world UCS just to see how this is looking out. Let's see. Alright. So the concept we're doing here is we're going to use a technique called loft. We're going to loft these circles starting at one end, connecting the dots all the way to the other one, and it's going to create that shape, that tapered. So it's going to be tapered, and it's also going to be curved along this path as we loft between the circles here. But we also need it to curve out and around the wheel, so we can't leave it in place. So the next lesson is going to show you how to move each of these out along a specified path.